Welcome in, guys. Happy Friday. Nice little Thursday night football game last night. Lions-Chiefs, 21-20. Good matchup. KC, we talked about it yesterday. We didn't think Kelsey was worth 2.5 to the number. And I don't know if he really is, but man, just the butterfingers from Tony. I think him and Moore combined, one catch? Just the receivers not getting it done there for KC last night. Lions look legit. Going to give them the flowers are due. But coming out of the gates in that second half, you take away that dropped pick six that it was from Tony. You look at the picture of it, the standstill, ball's right in his hands. Shouldn't have been a pick six. You take that away. KC go with it. It's a 2-score lead instead of a tie game. Complete momentum flip in the game. So hard to give too much credit there. More so of a loss on the Chiefs than a win for the Lions. But nonetheless, go to Arrowhead, pull out a win. Good for them. Good for Campbell. I saw someone in the comments yesterday because I said Campbell was the best coach in that division. I was getting some heat for that. And some of the ballsy plays he had last night, going for it on fourth downs, the fake punt he had early on in the game, he made some big ballsy decisions, panned off. I do believe he is the best coach. I know you used the record there to kind of make the example of why he's not. You got to consider he took a 3-year team in his first year as a coach and takes them to a team above 500 in year 2, and now they're looking like a serious threat, not only to win their division, but maybe make some noise in the playoffs as well. As far as how to beat the bookie, was the first losing day of the week, had winning days all throughout going out. Yesterday, a loser on the Tampa Bay Rays, 1-0 game, get blanked there. That's always tough. You have the best home team, tied for the best home team in baseball, and you get blanked on your home field. Really tough. Credit to Castillo. He had a terrific game. Seattle bullpen held it down from there. And then in the NFL game, only a 1-unit bet on the total, on the over in the game last night. Did not end up panning out there. We thought the points would still be coming without Kelsey. And granted, there was opportunities for it. We talked about the drop receivers, but it looked like it was definitely the wrong side there. Dog and the under end up closing out the first game of the NFL season. Losing day for how to beat the bookie members, still in the green, up almost 6 units on this week specifically, and a lot of action already out for baseball today. 3 baseball bets out for today. We have 4 NFL bets out for Sunday and counting. Maybe something for the Monday night game coming as well. Good time to sign up, become a How to Beat the Bookie member. Like I said, 7 bets already out to members, both for today and for Sunday. 1 college football bet, which I'm going to get into for tonight. I'm going to go over some of these college football games coming up tomorrow as well. No NFL action today, no MLB action that we are discussing. So if you guys want all that MLB and NFL information, you guys know where to sign up. Really quick before we get into not only just the college football game tonight, but also some of the college football games going on tomorrow morning. This last Saturday, I told you guys I was going to be live, and I was supposed to be. YouTube did not let me go live. I clarified that the other day. We'll be going live tomorrow, but it looks like we have the green light to go live again. So it should be good to be going live tomorrow. Planning on doing that at about 1:30 Eastern in the middle of the early slate of games. We're going to go over some of those early slate games now. And when I come back tomorrow, we'll be talking about some of the afternoon, some of the evening games, and maybe getting some live action down on some of the games going on. So if you guys are interested in live betting with me and interested in hearing more about the afternoon and evening games tomorrow, come back in at about 1:30 Eastern. If you guys hit that subscribe button below, you guys should get notified when we are going live. Let's talk about it. I have 4 games here that I want to go over with you guys today. I'm going to do a pretty deep dive. I usually try to do deep dives on these college games. One game we have going on tonight, Illinois versus Kansas. And that is, obviously 2 conferences I keep up with, 2 teams I keep up with. We'll go through a deep dive on this game as well for tonight. I do have 1 bet on this game. I'm going to be giving that to you guys. Have some bets circled up in for Saturday already. Have some previews written up for those 4 members. I'm going to be posting those actually after I get this up on YouTube. Those are going to be out for tomorrow, and as well as some of the other stuff that I'm going to be talking about more when we come in tomorrow. Not going to give any of you guys my reads for Saturday, but we'll go through games much like John and I typically go through baseball games. Let's go ahead and dive into the game for tonight, and the free bet on this today's episode, Illinois versus Kansas. Nice little Big 10 versus Big 12 action here. Illinois coming in off a tight win against Toledo. Can't get it done as far as covering, but they hold on 30-28, get her done there. Altmaier was his debut as a QB. He goes 18 for 26, 211 yards, gets 70 rushing. Decent performance, all considered for a debut there. As far as the defense, they gave up 186 rushing yards. Very problematic there. We'll get into that. And then you have this Kansas team who has just rolled over Missouri State to open up the season, 48-17 win in that contest. They had a backup QB in Bean, who actually got a good amount of snaps last season as well. Daniels, QB1, one of the most electrifying quarterbacks in college football right now. Big time dual threat QB. He had a little bit of back issues. Now, apparently, he was good to go for last week in week 1. Obviously, they didn't need him. They stopped Missouri State 48-17. So it was a bit more of a cautionary. He sat out last week. And they haven't given him the green light that he is starting in this game. Now, he's listed probable. There's some murmurs that he might be coming off the bench in this contest. We'll see if that's what ends up happening with Daniels. Definitely want him in there, and it looks like he will be playing. Question is, how many snaps will he get to start, everything else. We are looking at Kansas as a cheap home favorite in this game. Line opened up 4, settled in now around 3.5. As far as the total, opened up 55.5, went as high as 58, and now it's settled back in 56.5. One spot, a couple spots looking at 57 here. And it's an overlook in this game for me. I am on the over at 56.5 in this one. Let's get into why. So you have this Illinois team coming off this tight win against Toledo. It should not have been as tight as it was, first off. Secondly, this Toledo offense, I mean, they come in. They were ranked, I believe, as 98th as far as offensive production last season coming in. And now you go 28 points to a really bad offense. That's just concerning out the gates for Illinois, a team who last year more so defensive identity. And that's kind of how they were last couple of years. One of these Big Ten teams, kind of like Minnesota, Penn State, get it down on the ground and pound, bring in the defense. Now going up against a very electric, high, fast-paced Kansas offense, which is just really, really high-scoring offense. I mean, 48 points with a backup quarterback is just ridiculous. They return the most experienced offense in all of college football, bringing back 10 starters from last year's team. They were second in the Big 12 last year, scoring 35.6 points per game, but also second to last, giving up 35 a game. So really good on the offensive end, really shaky on the defensive end. And they were playing Missouri State, who they took care of business with, gave up 17 points. I imagine Illinois is going to have more success getting it going offensively here against Kansas. Kansas plays fast-paced. They play up-tempo. They give up the points. We'll see how dependent Illinois goes on the ground game. That's my one concern here with going on the over in this matchup is how much clock does Illinois milk? How much do they try to play that ground and pound style football? Kansas being the home team and playing this type of football, they do. I imagine they control tempo in this game. I imagine they make it pretty fast-paced. 4 of their last 5 have gone over, average of 77.4 points per game. 2 of Illinois' last 3 have gone over, averaging just under 44 points per game. But obviously, we saw 58 points in Illinois' opener against a bad offensive team in Toledo. And now we're going to take a look here against one of the most dynamic scoring programs, just as far as points, both giving up and scoring themselves. Kansas is going to get close to 35 at minimum tonight. I don't see them scoring under 30. I know they're going to get their 30 plus. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they get back up in the 40s again. That's what they do. Illinois defense, I mentioned it before, they took some steps back. They had 10 penalties for 100 yards in this last game against Toledo. Very shaky week 1 performance. You could argue there's a look ahead to this matchup with Kansas. But to me, this game is over all the way. Hopefully Daniels gets more snaps than not. But just plain and simple, if I could wrap up this game in a statement here, you have Illinois coming in, took massive steps down defensively. They improved offensively. And you have Kansas with the most experienced offense in college football. Give me the over here for them, 56.5. Wouldn't be surprised if this line closes up around 57.5, 58, which is as high as the number was this week. But it has settled back down in around 56.5. So that's my one free bet for you guys for this slate today is Illinois versus Kansas over 56.5. I will say 2 and 3 for me in week 1. The totals have been a nightmare so far. Usually I feel pretty good about my total reads. You guys know in other sports, baseball, NBA, NFL, love my total reads. I'm usually a bit more of a total better than a side better. College football, I will still bet a lot of sides, and I do have some sides I'm looking at tomorrow. But week 1, totals did not treat me well. So I'll say that totals have not treated me well. So tread lightly if you'd like, but over 56.5 there on the total tonight. We'll see how it treats us. And then let's look at 3 games going on tomorrow. So going to dive into 3 of these games that are going on early. Like I said, I will be back live in the early afternoon for you East Coast guys, about 1:30 Eastern. We'll be watching, the second half of these games, maybe live betting on some of them, and then as well as prepping up for some of the afternoon, evening games we'll be diving into First off on the board, Notre Dame, NC State. Really fascinated to see how Notre Dame looks now against a good defense. Notre Dame, first two games, they crush Navy and Tennessee State 98-6. Absolute abysmal competition, though. 98-6, cover both those games, cover both massive spreads. That makes them now 8-1 straight up, 6-3 against the spread their last 9, and they're 8-0 against the spread their last 8 versus ACC teams. So we'll see how this goes here now against NC State. Hartman has just been terrific. You got him in the transfer portal and just lighting it up right now. 33 for 40, 445 yards, having a terrific start here with the Fighting Irish. And let's talk about NC State. They're coming off a win here against UConn. They're 14-point favorites. They did not get that cover. They win it 24-14. They're now 5-5 straight up, just 2-8 against the spread their last 10. So two teams here, Notre Dame covering left and right, NC State not covering at all. Pretty interesting matchup here. We are looking at a decent-sized favorite here for Notre Dame, -7.5. Line did open 8, tick down here. Now, you could argue, again, similar to Illinois with a look ahead to Kansas, probably a bit of a look ahead as well here with NC State looking at Notre Dame coming up on their schedule. Just a big matchup for them. So as far as they bring in Armstrong, who was a former Virginia quarterback, and he ran for 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. This Notre Dame defense been very terrific. But again, against Navy and against Tennessee State. Now, even against Navy, though, the rushing game wasn't, exploited anything too crazy. And obviously the triple option, everything else there. This NC State defense led AAC last year, allowing 19.2 points per game. They were second, holding teams to 100.7 rushing yards per game. Really good against the rush. Really good as far as points allowed. We already saw that against UConn. Granted, it's UConn. Can't take that with too much. Definitely a basketball school more than anything. Haven't met since 2017. Notre Dame won that matchup 35-14. And Notre Dame been playing very much so to the over. You guys want to know how bad my no, I don't want to say bad. It's first week or week 2 now of the college football season. But in week 0, had the over in the Notre Dame game. That one fell short against Navy. That's how unlucky I am with totals right now. 8 of Notre Dame's last 9 have gone over. The one game that didn't go over is the one, of course, I have action on there. So we'll see if my totals turn around with this Illinois game tonight. Would be a slight lean here to Notre Dame. I mean, I can't back NC State in this one just with the against the spread trends. And you guys know trend is your friend. You look at a team who's 2-8 against the spread, going up a team who is 6-3 against the spread their last 9. And obviously the in conference, or I guess not in conference, but against that conference, 8-0 against the spread makes it really tough to want to pull the trigger there. I do lean a little bit more so to the under. I will say that in this matchup. Talk about this NC State defense. Notre Dame's defense has been phenomenal. This is going to be a defensive contest. Now, their offense has had a lot of success. Hartman's had a lot of success. Is that going to continue against a pretty solid defense? We'll see here. But I do not want to be laying this over a touchdown. This is a game I would very much so like to see what I can get live here. But overall read, Notre Dame, NC State would be under or nothing. Kind of difficult to do so. Notre Dame's 8 of the last 9 have gone over, like I said. But this is going to be their first true test against a good defense. NC State's offense wasn't lining up a UConn defense. I don't see them lighting up this Notre Dame defense. Very, very good as far as both rushing yards. The secondary has been phenomenal. So this is going to be under or nothing for me overall as a read here on this Notre Dame game. Slight lean to them on the spread, but I don't want to be laying a touchdown with the hook in this contest. They have looked terrific in their first 2 games. Like I said, 98-6, but you got to take those with a grain of salt. This is going to be their first Power 5 competition, and NC State definitely had this circled on their schedule heading into the season. And let's talk about a game everyone wants to talk about. Nebraska at Colorado. I keep getting DMs from everybody about this game. Good reason. I get it. Colorado right now stealing the bright lights, stealing the thunder in the early going of this college football season. Everything they just did against TCU. I will say, from a handicap standpoint, this is the hardest team to handicap right now in college football. They are completely changing the landscape of college football. We saw it a little bit last year with LSU and Brian Kelly. They bring him in from Notre Dame. He becomes the head coach. He brings in a shitload of transfers, bringing a whole new coaching staff. That was the first time we kind of witnessed this concept of where it's always been known where the college football programs are built around coaching staffs. That's not a secret. It's built around the coach's reputation, his ability to recruit and bring in new talent time and time again. This is a whole new concept now as far as the coach being the program, literally being able to move program to program, bringing his talent with him, bringing his staff with him, everything else. So you have to kind of scrape everything we know about Colorado being the laughingstock of the Pac-12. But that doesn't mean we have to take this jump to Colorado being this all of a sudden elite team now. I don't have that feeling for them. Yes, offense looked terrific against TCU, but a TCU team which is in a bit of a rebuild. They lose a lot from that championship run last year. We see oftentimes in the NFL, we see it a lot, right? Super Bowl hangover. You have teams with that issue. And obviously, they didn't win the national championship. But for any team who's not, SEC powerhouse, Georgia, Bama, LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, I guess two of the other championship teams that we've had kind of been powerhouses over the last 10, 15 years. There's a little bit of a hangover factor. No one had TCU going to the Natty Championship last year preseason. They did a lot of them didn't have them going heading into the college football playoff. So, there's definitely a hangover for the program, for the coaching staff, everything else. But more so, you look at the roster rebuild. So different TCU team they exploit. And here's the problem. They gave up over 40 points to a TCU rebuilding offense. And I get it. It's Big 12, flashy, passing offense, but still a lot of points they gave up. You take away a couple of red zone turnovers, TCU is hanging 50 plus on Colorado. That's a problem. That is absolutely a problem. What's going to happen when they play a team like USC who loves to play that style of football? Are they going to be able to outshoot USC in the Pac-12? A team like Utah who has the best defense in that conference, are they going to be able to hold down their own defensively against a team like Utah? I don't think so. So I'm not as high on Colorado as the overreaction to the market is currently. Obviously, if you look at the betting line here, we're looking at a 2.5 point favorite, 3 at some sites. That's where it opened up and it's come back down. Prior to the season, no one was having Colorado as a favorite over Nebraska. I mean, they just weren't. They were the laughing stock of the Pac-12. Even if you go look at Sagarin's ratings, who's one of the more potent guys that go off of numbers-wise as far as college football rankings, everything else. They have Colorado at 75th ranked. They have them number at a 68.6. Nebraska, they have them all the way up 51st, 74.5. So neutral field, Sagarin makes this game almost a touchdown favorite for Nebraska. Now, obviously, college football is huge with home field advantage. And you guys know with John's ratings, he's big on that home and away ratings. Home teams, some sports, some teams way better on the road. Weird teams, who are worse at home. And then obviously you have your just powerhouse home teams that go on the road and they just look like a completely different team. In the NBA, for example, look at the Golden State Warriors. There wasn't a larger discrepancy in that. And in college sports, college basketball, college football, those home away splits become massive. So there are some situations where you can make an argument where you have a team as, maybe a 5 to 6 home point edge, whereas, the average standard is 3. Even Sagarin, the standard he just gives every team is a 3-point home edge. Obviously, not every home team's home field advantage is the same. Colorado's going to have a massive home edge here. I get that. First home game, tickets selling out like crazy. The price is up the ass. You have the whole, Deion Sanders show going on. I get it. Big home edge. 7 points. Come on. It's actually 9.5 points if you want to get to a 2.5 point favorite. I still make Nebraska the favorite in this game. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be betting Nebraska just because I don't know how to handicap this Colorado team. I don't know what their true number is yet. I can't overreact to one game and say they are this top 20 team. And I don't think they are just for defensive purposes alone. We can talk about this matchup specifically. Nebraska is coming off a loss against Minnesota. Really good game. 13-10 there. Gave up all, 10 points in the last quarter there. So defensively phenomenal. And we're looking at two teams playing two different styles of football. Colorado with the Kent State OC from last year, they're playing a gunslinger, up-tempo, high-paced offense. Obviously Sanders, he threw for over 500 yards. What were they held down to? 55 rushing, not rushing at all. Just all in the air, getting it done. Nebraska plays a little bit more of that Big Ten style, football, ground and pound, get it on the ground, get it with the defense. And even look at the total trends. Colorado's last 12, 10-2 to the over, and Nebraska's last 11, 8-3 to the under. Over-under matchup, this could only be the over for me. If you look at Nebraska from last season, playing that ground and pound style, like I said, 8-3 to the under, but they play Purdue last season with Hartman, very similar style of tempo to Colorado, gunslinging offense, going to get it done like that. Very similar, and that was a high-scoring contest. In that one, it was 43-37 loss in a shootout there. Now, I expect Nebraska to have much more success offensively here. Sims in his debut here, they get him in the transfer from Georgia Tech, was decent running the football, 91 rushing yards, and he is a dual-threat quarterback, but 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown. So their offense has a lot of strides to take. Matt Rule is going to be coached. We talked about this last week when we broke down this Minnesota-Nebraska game, talked about the under. There was a dead under game. That's the style of football he's going to be coaching. It's 2 complete different styles of football clashing here. I'm going to give the edge to Nebraska in a sense. I like to back a good defense. Now, the home edge is going to be massive for Colorado. This is the first home game in the Deion Sanders era. How much of a home edge is that for Colorado? We haven't seen it. You can't handicap it. How good is Colorado going to be offensively against a better defense? They absolutely picked apart a bad TCU returning defense. And can their defense flip things around? I mean, they almost gave up 50+ to a rebuilding TCU offense. I imagine Nebraska gets theirs in this game. I am not betting a side on this game currently. If I were, it could only be Nebraska. I would want the field goal. I'd want the field goal with the hook. For those of you guys who love to, look at public action, everything else, this is, one of those reverse line movement games. Public is all over Colorado in this one. Market is overreacting because they know they're going to get money on Colorado. Colorado does not deserve to be a favorite based off one game, and I can't make them the favorite in this contest. The books can make them the favorite, and they're still getting over 70% of the action on Colorado. So it's a market overreaction with public action all over the boulders. How much of a home edge do you want to give them? And I said this last week, Nebraska lets me down time and time again. I would need at least the hook in this one at 3.5 to be interested in Nebraska. And it would be a lean to the over in this one, just because Colorado is going to be playing that up-tempo pace, but their defense is going to be vulnerable. And although I don't think Nebraska's offense is going to be gunslinging quite like TCU, they're going to be playing a bit more ground and pound. Colorado's run defense, I imagine, is going to get exploited a little bit like they did against TCU. This would be over or nothing, and the slightest of leans here to Nebraska. Would need more on the number. But, hey, maybe Colorado is as legit as the books are overreacting and making them out to be. That defense is not a legit top 20 defense, and that's my major concern. The offense is there. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that offense isn't real, because it is. And their offense gets the edge here over Nebraska, but the defense is night and day. Nebraska has the edge on that side of the football. And then we're going to figure out in this game together, how much of a home edge does Colorado deserve? How much is this now playing here in this Deion Sanders era? How much of a home edge is that worth? I couldn't tell you yet. We're going to find out tomorrow. So that's going to be fascinating to watch. I know a lot of you guys were asking me about this game, specifically DMing me about this game. Would be a slight lean to the over in this one, 10-2 to Colorado's last 12, and would be a slight lean to Nebraska. Again, no bet on this game for me currently, but this was the game I was getting asked about the most, so I thought we'd do a little dive into it. And then we could dive into one more contest here, Utah versus Baylor. Oh, I love my Utah Utes. You guys know I was all over them last week. Now they come in a really good spot here. If I end up on this game, it will be Utah or the under in this one. Waiting to see what's going on with the QB situation. Obviously, like we talked about last week, Rising, who was out, is still questionable. He is, as the reports are saying, progressing to return. So we'll see, what that exactly means, if he's going to be back, if he's not. Barnes was terrific, all considered. I mean, 12 for 18, 159 yards. Johnson came in, had some big carries as a quarterback. So offensively, they were fine. They're not going to be, lighting things up. But they were fine against Florida, and it's what we talked about. Their defense is phenomenal. I mean, they were second in Pac-12 and everything last year, returning 7 starters. Bishop looked terrific. This is a true defense. They held Florida down to 13 rushing yards, 11 points, just phenomenal. And then you have this Baylor team, who's one of the laughingstocks of football this past week. TCU, Clemson, and Baylor. Baylor, 26.5-point favorites, can't get it done against Texas State. Give up 42 points. They outgained, though. They had 524 total yards. They just couldn't get it done. Chapin, who's normally QB1, he gets hurt with a knee issue. I believe it's an MCL issue is what they said specifically. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Safety as well. Lemire, he's going to be out as well. So you got a banged-up Baylor team. It's going to be the Miss State transfer, Robertson as the starting quarterback now. He came in that game. He goes 6 for 12, 113 yards, did throw an interception down the stretch. Obviously, though, now going to have it's a really tough spot as a backup transfer quarterback because you come in, it's a new program, new offense, new team, everything else. You got to get to know your coaches, got to get to know your teammates, everything else. But you're going through a camp trying to learn everything that's new as QB2, so you're not getting as many reps. A week in practice is going to help him big time as far as being QB1. As far as some of the over-under trends, 9 of Baylor's last 13 have gone over. Overs 3 and 2. Utah's last 5 road games. Utah, though, definitely a more under-trending team, especially without Rising. I mean, without Rising, they are just a defensive juggernaut, and that is their identity. You bring in Rising, you have one of the most experienced quarterbacks in college football, just very high on this Utah team. You got to look at this game from a few different angles, right? Baylor gets upset. The laughingstock week 1. If Shapen was healthy, I would not have the urge to go against them because typically when you see those major week 1 upsets, you got to look who's next on the schedule. Just have to look who's next on the schedule. And there is no doubt in my mind Baylor was looking ahead to this Utah matchup. How couldn't you? Utah is projected to be one of the top 10 teams in college football, open up with a big win over Florida. So far, they are looking like they're made out to be. So look ahead spot is the first problem there. Then you factor in a quarterback injury mid-game. So, there was some explanations as far as to the upset. If Shapen was healthy, the upset and then him coming back would be a bit more interest and, it was a clear look ahead spot coming in. We can talk about what I make the line on this game. So right now we're looking at a 7.5 to 8 point favorite for Utah. Most spots, let's just going to check in this morning here. Before it came on, it was all 8s, 7.5. Okay, so another spot here. DraftKings actually brought it down to 7.5 as well. So 2 spots. DraftKings bet online 7.5. Everywhere else still 8. And as far as the total, settling in at 47. Open 51 came down here. Side on the game has only gone up a little bit from an opener of 7, and largely with the Shapen injury. Now, without the injury to Shapen, we're looking at a neutral site make Utah about 7-8 point favorite. Now, they're at a 7-8 point favorite on the road, and they're a team that's worse on the road. They have one of the bigger home edges in college football, so you got to take that back a little bit. Maybe you give Baylor the home edge 3-point swing, so maybe go from an 8 point favorite to a 5 point favorite, and then you give the edge back to Baylor, or Utah, I should say, with a quarterback injury to Shapen, maybe give them another 3 to 4 points. So that's where we get back home edge, quarterback injury, all factored in. And we're looking at about a 7.5, 8 point favorite. So this is a very good line here by the books on this Utah game. Lean has got to be to the Utes. If Rising is in, that's where things get more complicated because this is a double-digit road favorite. You could bet Utah at the 7.5 number and in hopes that Rising is in. And I don't think you're taking – I don't see it going below a touchdown if Rising's not in, for example. Similar situation to my read when they played Florida. That line bottomed out at 4.5. Even once Rising was confirmed out, that thing was not going lower than 4.5. That line closed 6. So this one, I don't see going lower than 7.5, even without Rising. I do see them closing double-digit favorite with Rising. We'll see if that's what happens to this line. Could only want the under here in this matchup, which is a bit weird. Baylor trending over team, but bringing the backup quarterback situation, going up against one of the best defenses in college football. And really, that's what it comes down to with Utah. Baylor put up over 500 yards against Texas State. They will not be doing that against the Utes. I will be surprised if with Robertson as the quarterback, if Baylor is able to get across 20 points, let alone 30. So this would be an under or nothing read here in this matchup. And once again, a road favorite here. I do not want to be laying over a touchdown favorite with a backup quarterback on the road. Baylor looking ahead of this spot. But if Rising's in this game, could see me getting on this contest. Would definitely be an opportunity to get live in this one as well. Wouldn't be surprised if Baylor comes out hot early. Obviously, they're a team who just got disgustingly upset. So you might see them, get the ball first drive, go on a massive drive here against Utah, maybe get some points early on the board. Might be able to get that line below a touchdown. Will be a lot more inviting. I just don't see Baylor's offense with a backup quarterback being able to do anything here against Utah. And that's those 4 games, guys. That's the little breakdown there. Like I said, the star free bet tonight, Illinois, Kansas, over 56.5. I will be back tomorrow doing a deeper dive on some of these afternoon games. Some great contests we have coming up. Obviously, Texas, Alabama, Oregon, Texas Tech. For you, 2 million people in Iowa, you got your Super Bowl this week: Iowa versus Iowa State, A&M versus Miami, Purdue versus VTech. We'll be coming in breaking down more of those games tomorrow. That'll be about 1:30 Eastern on this here channel going live. If you guys want to tune back in for that. And like I said, John has a handful of MLB bets already out for today. 4 NFL bets already out for Sunday. Looking to add more to that. If you guys want all of John's reads, go sign up howtobeatthebookie.com or download the How to Beat the Bookie app. And for you How to Beat the Bookie members tuning in right now, more of my college reads for Saturday will be posted up this afternoon. Stay tuned for that. Everyone who tuned in, appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe below. Help us grow this thing. Let's make some money.